Kawasaki, we as a firm, we all grew with Peterborough.
Some people see a person as a sale, as a sale, and they kind of want to get that sale as quickly and easily as they can. But next.
You have the ability within you to pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and go, right, I failed on that one, but I'm so damn determined now.
I think we all need a bit of OCD, because that makes you more structured, more focused, more diligent, often towards a high standard. Welcome back to another episode of Success as a System. Today I'm here with my great mate Dave Sanders, and we're actually very honoured to be allowed to be filming today from the Town Hall of Peterborough, right in the heart of our city, where 5 generations of my family have been brought up, where Dave's family have lived in and around the area for many, many years. And I must remember to thank Nick Sanford, the current mayor, and Wayne Fitzgerald, the council leader, for allowing us the use of this grand room. And one of the reasons that I thought it'd be nice to do it from here is Dave has been mayor of this city, has been a councillor. His father was the council leader. And so much as when we first met 35 years ago, I never thought either of us would ever get near politics.
Indeed.
But somehow it's weaved in and out of what we've done throughout our lives. But we'll get on to that. We're not going to make this anything political at all. This is an apolitical room, and there are leaders up on the walls, over 200 years of leadership or mayors on the wall, and this is an apolitical room, and there are leaders from all backgrounds, and there are leaders that have been great for Peterborough in their own way, whatever their parties and policies. And so we're not going to get into politics, but what I do want to get into, Dave, and with Success as a System, the whole idea really is that we take people who have been successful, have maybe had some challenges through their life, and we try and say, what is it that's got you to where you are today? Is it, mum and dad? Is it the influence of mum and dad or an uncle? Is it a school teacher that really kind of inspired you? Is it business? And what are the systems that you'd attribute to making you success? So one of the places I always go is, let's go right back to the beginning. Growing up, tell us a little bit about family life, where you grew up, brothers, sisters, what your dad was doing at the time, what your mum was doing at the time, and what your early years were like in terms of what are always called the formative years that form who we are and our behaviours and beliefs.
Yes, Mike, like you, Peterborough born and bred, and very proud of it. Newborough Village is where I grew up, only child, no brothers and sisters, and very much influenced by my dad, who was ex-Royal Navy, which he attributes his basic discipline from.
That's Neville, and he's infamous in this area. But.
Indeed, and when he left the Navy, he bought 1 lorry, and with that he built up, over the course of time, a fleet of trucks. So I was brought up in the business environment, and I saw my dad working all hours.
And is that the same yard that you're in now?
Indeed, yeah, in Newborough. So we lived there, and the business was there as well. So, and like you, I went to school locally. I know you went to Bretton Woods, but I went to Arthur Mellows, Newborough Village School, then Arthur Mellows up until I was 16, and then left. And before I get to that part, actually, during my secondary school days, whilst I was absolutely useless at football and all my friends were very sporty, I took an interest in motorbikes and riding them, playing with them, repairing them, buying and selling them actually. And unbeknownst to me, I had a bit of a flair for selling. Right. And I like people, I guess that helps. And my dad recognised this in me. And when you get to about 60, you're not quite sure what you want to do. And I flirted with the idea of joining the Royal Navy, following my dad's footsteps, but then Peterborough was growing, particularly with the Development Corporation, as you remember.
Yeah.
My dad identified that we'd give it a go to apply to Kawasaki, as there wasn't a franchise in Peterborough at the time, to give this flair of mine a go at see if we can make a living out of motorbikes, which I seized that opportunity with absolute excitement. And luckily for me, I'm not a true entrepreneur, but my dad gave me an interest-free loan on the condition that I went off to business school, did the basics like BTEC National Diploma, and also City and Guilds, that sort of stuff at Peterborough College.
But I want to go in there because what's really interesting is your dad didn't give you the money, he gave you a loan.
Yeah.
And often, business people understand that if they're going to give their kids anything, it's the knowledge and a start, but not an easy ride, not a helping hand, as it were. In fact, the helping hand was, you can have a loan, but you've got to pay me back.
Yeah, sure.
So from day one, you understand the cost of money and the importance of the fact that you've got to make that work to pay that back.
Yeah, I would definitely like to think so. Yeah, probably others wouldn't. Perhaps somebody might say I was born with a silver spoon. But I like to think that that I do understand the value of money, and that I took the opportunity. Did not want to look a gift horse in the mouth, and as luck would have it, we had a manager at first, and then I went off to college and started to understand a bit of business. And throughout that, my dad was always there for guidance. We had two separate businesses. We didn't work together, which is probably just as well as father and son. And as luck would have it, Kawasaki, we as a firm, we all grew with Peterborough. And like I say, I enjoyed people, so I enjoyed the selling part. I certainly enjoyed the business part, and I think a bit of it is good luck, and certainly a bit of it is that the product sold itself in a way. Yeah. And we never looked back, and we went from a small shop to a bigger shop to when we ended up with 33 years I was in the trade.
And during that time is when I got to know of you and then first met you 35 years ago. But when I was 16, I got a Fizzy, which is a Yamaha 50, like a hairdryer on wheels kind of thing. Sort of wind along, but it got me into bikes, and then a TS125 and then a Yamaha 250. And I'd look at some of those Kawasaki's were around because they already had 1100 or 1300 cc engines, which the power of that on two wheels is just incredible. So you were every boy's dream at the beginning of Lincoln Road when I first became aware. And then we actually met at the gym I was running, believe it or not, but at Tallington. And you were living that fast life, working hard, running your own business, into bikes and cars and what have you. But very driven though, even back then. What was the motivation for you to work as hard as you did work?
I think I've always been a bit scared of failure. So maybe that's been the driven factor. I didn't want to let my dad down. I didn't want to let anybody down. I hate that. I like to think generally, my word is my bond. So that was driven me. Parents, family, I wanted to succeed. But when you get off to the gift horse like that, and I had that opportunity, I was so determined to succeed. Because it was my dream, as you mentioned, my dream come true. I've had a charmed life, a very privileged life, and I'd like to think I appreciate it. So I was doing a job I adored. So it's easy to work long hours when you're doing a job you enjoy. I had a friend who was a policeman for 30 years, and he's one of the few, I think, that said that he enjoyed it so much he would have paid them to do the job. Yeah. So I think that's vice versa for me. I would have, I didn't necessarily do it for the money, but I was keen then to grow. There's an opportunity to grow with Peterborough because Kawasaki extended the range throughout the years. So we got to the shop at Lincoln Road, the third shop. And 33 years I did. It flew by, and I loved every minute. And more to the point, I made a lot of close friends and when you're customers.
When you're doing something you love, it does go quick anyway. But I want to pick up on a couple of things that you said in there, because you said you have a privileged life, but you worked hard. And actually, even with what you might say a privileged life, everyone knows what a hard worker you are. And if people don't know you, I'll tell you, you're one of the hardest workers I know in terms of you could choose not to work, and you could have chosen that many years ago, but still 5-6 days a week, every single day you're one of the first into the yard, you're one of the last to leave the yard, and you're there not in some suit, but as you are today, casually dressed or in a boiler suit, and getting dirt down and dirty, cleaning the trucks, repairing the trucks, everything you do. So you still got that work ethic, even though you saying the privilege had never made you think, I don't need to do anything because of it. In fact, if anything, it's given you a fear of failure because you want to prove that you're more than that. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a very good analysis, Mike. But I've enjoyed doing it, and I still enjoy doing it. I'm a bit of a workaholic. I think I would be the sort that would twiddle her thumbs and climb the walls if I were to retire. I enjoy being part of a team. So I like leading from the front. I like to be last in, first out, as barking mad as that may seem, and I don't need to.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, indeed.
First in, last out.
And I could delegate down to another manager run it for me. Of course I could. But I enjoy working with the team. I enjoy the banter. I enjoy the comradeship. I enjoy my customers. And I'm thinking, why would I give all that up?
Yeah.
And I think you can only do so much. Boating is my passion. I used to do so much boating. I do a bit of skiing as well. I used to enjoy in the winter.
Yeah.
So
That was another thing we met at water skiing.
I'm driven by the buzz of the kill of business, the clinching the deal, if you like, rather than, if it doesn't come across wrong, rather than the profit sector of it. The profit sector used to be important to me now, but now it's the buzz of doing business with my customers and delivering a service at a price my customers can afford. I pride myself on that relationship with my customers because they pay the wages.
So, and I want to get into, go back to, but I'm going to get into that, but I want to go back to the fear of failure because one of the things I've talked about a lot on different shorts that we've done or episodes that we've done and just in general mentoring is that people think, I need to be motivated. Give me something positive. I'm just a bit neggy at the minute. But actually, one of the things I say, and I believe this with every cell in my body, is that at least 70% of motivation is negative. We are more pushed by our fears than we are pulled by our dreams because that fear of failure actually will make you get up more in the morning than the pull of, I want to buy a new boat or I want to buy a new car because, well, actually, the existing boat's not bad. So you can put up with things as they are often, but you don't want that fear of failure. And often it was, for me, it was like, I went to school because that was the only cooked meal we had each day. Yeah. Or I wanted to then help my mum and pay off her debts because we had the provvy man knocking on the door and things like that. And it was negative motivations, but people need to understand, never ever underestimate the power of negative motivation to drive you to where you want to be.
Completely agree. Mike, my JC, my partner, she would probably say I haven't got the balance because I have a bit of an obsession. So I've struggled to not to leave till next day a job. I have to do it there and then. A bit of autistic, if you like, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but I've had an obsession and the balance of being driven. I can't leave anything, so I put the hours in purely and simply because tomorrow's another day, and I like to get as much done in the day as I possibly can. Sometimes it works into 12, 13 hours, which is often the case still at my age now at 61. I'm still working that hard, and I have difficulty in not delegating. That's not the right word. I have difficulty in not having pride in what I do. And I have incredible pride in what I do, and I hope that reflects in other people. Yeah. So my success is probably doing above and beyond. Maybe work so hard, and because sometimes in business, as you well know, and so other businesses well know, you're going to get the knockbacks. You're going to have bad months. You're going to get knocked down into the dust. You're not going to go through your business career without happening to you. And you do need a lot of luck, but it's the ability to have within you, and you either got it or you haven't, I think, you have the ability within you to pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and go, right, I failed on that one, but I'm so damn determined now to go back. So it's not letting failure, or having the fear of failure, sure, but not letting failure demoralise you, to have that ability to pick yourself up, do yourself down, press on.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I often try to clarify for people is failure isn't the opposite of success. It's one of the key ingredients to success. And anyone who I've met, and I've met thousands of people, not many, it's exaggerate. So I've met thousands of people who are really successful. They've all got pasts that have got failure as a part of it. Yeah. And some of them have got littered past of failures that have made them successful because they kept on keeping on. But does the drive, the work ethic, this kind of first in, last out, was that always there? Does it come from a father? Does it come from a teacher? Does it come from someone else? Where did that approach to life or business come from?
Yeah, my dad had a huge influence on me because I haven't got any brothers and sisters to share the tellings off or my dad's attention. So he started with nothing really, and so I did look up to him. Perhaps we didn't spend as much time together as we wanted to when he was younger, but I now see where he was coming from later on in life. Yes, it was him that gave me all the tips and what to look out for. So he didn't have that mentor, I did. So I owe a lot to him. In fact, he I even followed him into the council. So he's a huge influence, a massively a Marmot character, nevertheless for me, hugely driven. And he set that example for me, and perhaps because he went in first and left last and worked silly hours, that I thought that was what you had to do. And for me, it's worked, and I'm not sure how well I'd have done without adopting that attitude. And also what he taught me was a basic thing, if you like, but in business, he said, right, I used to make a bit of money out of the truck business, but what I did was, clearly I used to update my fleet, but if I had any spare profit, I put a deposit down on a property and borrow a bit of money, and I'd put it, because I saw that back in the day, he said, when the property was the ideal thing to invest in rather than pensions. Not saying that pensions is a bad thing, no. What I'm saying is for him, and I thought, when I had Kawasaki, I took that on board and used parts of my profit from Kawasaki back in the day, even as a young man, to buy property with, and I built that up in addition to my dad's with the profit. So not having all your eggs in one basket.
And that's a really important thing as well. But I want to just go back to that influence then with your father, because I feel the same about my mother, actually. But if you could have 5 minutes with him, the things you said you probably didn't tell him as often as that, what would you say if he was here and you only had 5 minutes? What would you want to tell him?
Yeah, what I didn't say, unfortunately, was because my dad was pretty old school. He didn't put his arm around me and say, I love you, Dad. He wasn't that kind of dad, And in fact, if anything, he was... he bantered me, oh, Dave, you should work harder. And he very rarely said, well done. That drove me. Rather, he wasn't always patting me on the back, always was, Dad, I can do it. So he inspired me in a bit of a negative way. But I should have said to him, lots of times, thanks, you've been a great influence. But we never did, because we weren't that like huggy. I am with my son. We're a lot closer. We have a different relationship. Ironically, I guess I'd like to say thanks. It has worked what you share with me, and you did do a lot of thinking for me and a lot of advice that I could have tripped up along the way without those words of advice. And I hope I can pass it on to my son, who is far better educated than I am.
Well, that's the same with my kids.
Hope you're enjoying Success is a System. Every Tuesday we launch it on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Drop us a note and tell us who you would like to see or hear on Success is a System, or what subjects you'd like us to cover to help you and your business. Success is a System. Like, subscribe, and make sure you get it every Tuesday for great lessons and systems that have made people wealthy, healthy, and successful.
One of the things I'm conscious of, if you go back to when we were kids, so the 60s and 70s, our parents were kind of our mentors, because generally they were working, one of them wasn't working often, was the norm. We lived in quite close communities, was the norm, rather than families spread all over the country or the world. Mm-hmm. So often our mentor would be our mum, our dad, our uncle, our granddad, our nan, and so on. That's less the case now. It does worry me a little bit, but I guess that's why people go to mentors as a specific thing, right? Because they're not getting it in the home. And I understand why often in the home it's not there, because parents are both working often these days, and they're both working as hard as they can to give the kids as much as they can, when really a big bit of what the kids probably need is the mentoring, the advice, the example, and the example can't just be work ethic. I think it needs to be those tips and traits that you've been able to adapt and adopt for your business. But tell us a bit about your business. What is it? What is it you do? I know, of course, but the people listening don't. Tell us what your business is and the scale of it and what have you.
Core business is heavy goods vehicle trailer rental to the haulage industry. So I'm not a haulage contractor, but we rent the trailers to the haulage industry, which is a little niche in the market, because most of my competitors are big national companies, and one of the few and one of the largest family trailer rental business in the country, actually. So that was a niche my dad found that I inherited after Kawasaki, and then with that I do property rental as well. And last but by no means least, we have an independent, quite successful MOT testing station. And I'll tell you why that's...
truck MOT, is that?
No, I'm sorry, that's car and van MOTs. And the reason I'm pretty proud of that, my dad set that up, of course, but I took that business, truck business on after he passed away, is that we're in the village of Newborough, so we took it out of the way rather.
Yeah.
But because it's independent, we get quite a lot of people travel and come to us, which is really rewarding. So took to haulage yard, and we've got a busy MOT business. So that's the three businesses I'm involved in.
So, and the other thing I want to try and just build on that with, because anyone watching, you're very unassuming, and you often dress down. In fact, I'm surprised you didn't come in your dungarees or whatever, your overalls today.
Jason would have shot me.
Yeah. So, which is good, but I think it's a wonderful trait that you don't feel the need to have this external representation of success. And I think sometimes, therefore, because I want people to realise just what you have achieved. You've got a great business, as you said, and you said, my competitors are bigger, but it is one of the largest, if not the largest, family-operated businesses. Mm-hmm. You have got property, you've got a yacht, you've got a Rolls-Royce Ghost, you've got a wonderful house and a wonderful partner. So in many ways, you tick a lot of the boxes that people would say, that's the dream, that's the life that I want. But somewhere along the way, you decided you wanted to give back to the community as well as just the business. And you became a councillor, and you became the mayor, and you do stuff for charity and that. Where did that, with all that you were having to do with business and everything else, where did that come from? Why the need to get involved in the community when you're already busy?
Yeah, good point. Once again, Dad's influence. He was already on the council, and I grew up in the area I represented, Thornley, Newborough, and so it was a natural progression for me. It's a great honour to represent the honour of representing the ward I grew up in, and come in and represent that ward on Peterborough City Council, the town I grew up in, like you, Mike. And like you, I think we have lots of grounded friends that keep us grounded, because I still keep in touch with people I went to school with. People like yourself. There's lots of people like yourself I met years ago. Simple things like going to the gym. I knew you well before your business career, and we were young men then. I think the friends we had back then, and we remained friends with, keep us grounded, and always good. They're always good for advice as well. Old friends, especially old friends that know you well before this. So they're great. They're great friends. I close friends. I value immensely. So that's what I feel is important to share.
And I think I can't remember exactly, but Churchill had a saying. It was something like, "We make a living from what we do, but we make a life from what we give." Yeah. Or something, and it was that giving back. But you talk about friends as well there, and you are an outstanding networker. You build relationships with people, and because you're unassuming but also very good at business, you build it at any level, and you're the same whether you're chatting to the dustbin man or the MP and so on. That you don't feel the need to put on airs and graces. Is that
true.
Fair?
I come from that background where my dad always said, "Be nice to people on the way up." And also, try to treat people how you like to be treated yourself. Everybody can't be your mate. Clearly, I've hacked people off throughout my life, but I try not to. And back to the council, what I got from that being diversified outside of businesses, I got to meet people I wouldn't normally have got to meet. You certainly become more of a team player, because you can't just walk into the council and say, like I do at work, say, right, we're doing this today, because you have to sell that idea and be part of the team. It's great to see different parts of the city I didn't really know existed. Although you're Peterborough born and bred, there's a lot goes on you don't know about. A lot of great people doing a lot of great work. So I saw all that. So that was an education in itself. And then, as part of the council, I went to become a member of the Cambridgeshire Police Authority. The council gave me a grounding for that, because once again, as a big business and understanding capital and revenue budgets before you go. So once again, I started to understand, not entirely, because you never do, started to understand what policing means and the big picture of policing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not doing that anymore, but during that period of my life, yes, to answer your question, it was incredibly busy. It was incredibly busy. But I was a young man, had lots of energy and determination and the willingness to learn. I had that willingness to learn, and you learn something new every day. So what I would say to other people out there is, you don't always have to take on board people's advice, but it's important to listen to what other people have to say and take it on board. Whether you act on it or not is a different thing. Yeah. But other people's opinions are incredibly valuable. So that's particularly outside of business. The council did help me to understand other people's points of view, whereas before I joined the council, I think one of my downfalls was I probably didn't always understand and listen to other people's points of view. So that's what I took from the council.
And a common theme that I'm getting from successful people, and certainly weaved through our conversation, and even for the 5 minutes while we're chatting while the cameras have been set up, was it's all about people, and it's about building relationships. And I think often in business, some people see a person as a sale. It's a sale, and they kind of want to get that sale as quickly and easily as they can. But next. But you were talking about how many years is it, for instance, since you sold the motorbike business?
2010.
So 13 years since you sold that. But this afternoon, you're going out on a ride with a load of bikers on one of your old bikes that you kept, a Kawasaki. What was it?
GTR 1400.
GTR 1400. So you're out for the afternoon with some guys. So you keep those relationships, and it is something I see about you that whether when you spot with the motorbikes, you sponsored the Red Arrows, got to know the pilots. They're still friends today. One of the guys out today was the leader of the Red Arrows. Yep. You've been up in a jump jet yourself. Yep. So building those relationships isn't just something that's necessary to do. So a customer is a customer, but if you aim to make them a friend, some of them will become friends. But actually, I think you go the extra mile to really connect with that person, rather than what's the minimum I have to do to get the cash out of your pocket.
Hugely important point, Mike. Very well made. People, I think, enjoy spending their money with and working with people they like, but not necessarily people they like, the people they can relate to and respect. So if you getting on with people is a big deal. So and being a team player and being a leader, that's a different. Talking about leadership is a different thing, but being a leader where you're not aloof, you're being a leader but part of a team. It's a skill that can be taught, but you're always going to follow somebody, I think, that you respect, and you follow some people through a wall. But people that are incompetent and are not liked are never going to be good leaders, are they?
No, and I think there is different types of leadership. And one of the things I knew before we started Success as a System, but I'm learning more all the time on, and every day is a school day,
isn't it?
To what you say. But is that there's lots of different systems for everything we need to do. There's lots of different sales systems, there's lots of different finance systems, marketing systems, leadership systems. But I know from things that you've said in the past is, you'll be the one in the yard that will make people a cup of tea and stuff like that. So you're not a leader that's aloof or that's kind of this hierarchical, you do this, you do that. You all muck in. And actually, you'll show that what they're doing is important, so you're going to make them a cup of tea while they're doing it.
Good point. I whether this works for other people or not, but for me, I wouldn't ask anybody at my works. This is going to be documented there. I wouldn't ask anybody at my works to do anything I wouldn't do. I'm quite prepared to sweep up. I'm quite prepared to make a customer a cup of tea. I'm quite prepared to do that, and I enjoy doing it. And what I get out of it is, believe it or not, as the boss, I definitely get a lot out of working as a team and the camaraderie and even the banter. So the staff are. Listen, any firm's only as good as the staff.
No, absolutely. If you could go back to being 16, would you do anything differently?
No, absolutely
not. Is there anything
not.
You'd say to yourself that might make the ride a bit easier?
No, absolutely not. I think I look back on it and go, jeepers, I wouldn't change a lot at all. So I've had a great time and a great life, so I've got no complaints at all. It's been awesome, and I met some fantastic people, and I can only take positive out of it. So through life, through your knocks, you're going to get people you don't get on with, you're going to get people you cross swords with, you're going to get people that double cross you, you're going to get people that stab you in the back, but smile, press on, and let it make you angry for a short while. Otherwise, if you let that get you down, it depends on your personality. But I've gone, sometimes I can kill that person, but then next day, gone, some water under the bridge.
But one of the things I really like is that you work hard, willing to put the hours in, but you interrupt me often when I'm getting a bit manic. I'll get a little text from you or say, Mike, do you fancy a coffee at Moor Farm or something? And I think, actually, and there's never any agenda. We just go, we chat shit, we enjoy some time that gives us both a break, and we end up talking about stuff that helps us both, maybe, or is just kind of what's going on. It's part of that networking, part of that understanding the city, and like the bikes this afternoon that you're doing. You like to go to your boat at the weekends and everything else. So, how do you talked about, JC said about balance or whatever, but do you have any views on balance or system on balance, or like, do you think, well, I'm not going to work after this time, or how do you balance that?
Oh no, I'm a big believer in if you want the stuff, you want the toys, it's difficult to do it. It's just doing 9 to 5. I have to admit, you have to put yourself out, put yourself under stress, make yourself sweat. Hard work, I think, is the key, and a lot of luck, But nowadays, my vice that keeps me sane. There's 2 vices I have that keep me sane, and I hope gives me a balance. My partner would probably disagree with me, but it's one, good friends. You can't, everybody can be your friend. You click with some people, you don't click with. You and I click. We can meet up as you do with other friends, as I do with other friends, and I enjoy that half an hour from work, having a coffee and chewing the breeze with good friends. That means a lot to me, so that helps me. And my other passion, apart from motorbikes, is boating. And my dad got me into that. He had a boat in the river, being ex-Royal Navy. But I went one step further and decided to do my exams and go buy a boat, and I take it to sea on the Solent. Weekends for me on the boat is completely my bag. I completely forget about the world, and it's like a different life. So that's another passion I could talk to you about until you're blue in the face, boating. But it gets me away from the truck business and the outside, from outside Peterborough. Because when you grow up, and I lived and breathed it, people, it's nice to have a different life, if you like, down the south coast. So because boating, the navving and the chart plotting, and that's it's not straightforward.
So if you wouldn't change anything about your life, but let's just say I was a 19-year-old excitable entrepreneur or someone just entering the world of work. What 3 things would you tell me about life that I might not have heard in my education up to the age of 19 that you would say, if I could only give 3 things to the young people out there, what would they be?
Well, okay. Hard work above and beyond the call of duty. Hard work's one thing, but probably be, and I'm not sure if this is a good advice, but probably be a bit obsessive. Do above and beyond, and just when you think you want to go home, do that extra hour. And I can feel my partner kicking me under the table now. And secondly, keep grounded. Value your friends, and don't get above your station. Don't get too big for your boots, or because you've got a couple of quid. That's just my advice. And thirdly, just be prudent, because you've got 100 quid, and you say 100 quid. Don't go spend 100 quid. Spend half, save half. If that's a throwaway comment, but there's a rainy day. Don't get carried away with a good year's profits, because the next year might not be so good. So just keep an eye on those pennies, because it's so easy to get into business in its infancy, get a couple of quid and go, right, I'll buy that Rolls Royce now.
But wait till you
get yourself a bit of foundation so that you can withstand a bad year or 2.
And that's sort of the law of the farm in some ways, isn't it? Has farming played a part in any of your background?
No, actually, no, I don't understand farming.
Other than the fact that you're surrounded
by
farmers. But let me just get into those 3 things just for clarity, because I think they're 3 really good things. Work hard, above and beyond, but then you said maybe be a bit obsessive. And actually, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder or whatever it is seen as a bad thing, but so many of the leaders that I've seen have elements of that. And just yesterday I was saying to somebody, I think we all need a bit of OCD, because that makes you more structured, more focused, more diligent often towards a high standard. So sometimes we look at people and we label whether it's ADHD or ADD or OCD, and it's negatives, but we should start looking at what the positive of some of those
agree.
traits are.
Ooh.
And certainly
Without
Neville Wright, I still will forever be changed when he said I was gifted with ADHD. And he saw it as a positive,
I absolutely agree. Whatever disability or whatever that, it's do not let that hold you back. We all know disabled people have smashed a good, successful life.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, but be positive and don't let anything like that hold you back.
I love the description. Instead of disabled, we ought to call people differently abled, because they have a lot of ability, and it's the ability we should focus on, not the diss. Never diss a differently abled person. And so maybe we should change that word. But then you said grounded, and I see that in you. You're always grounded. Don't get too big for your boots. But the one that I want to get into a little bit more before we wrap up is the be prudent, save half, spend half.
Yes.
Be able to survive a tough year. Because often you're talking about, if I make £500,000 this year, I'm going to save £250,000. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Some people don't make anything, and then they borrow £250,000. What's your view on debt? How do you feel about debt?
No. Of course. If I hadn't had an interest-free, of course, it's service and debt. That's what makes the world go round. I understand that completely. If you like, years ago, I was in debt, if not, but I had the privilege of not having an interest with it. So of course you need to borrow money to earn money.
But at a level that you can sustain, or
please. I know all business plans that you put to the bank can go off piste. Of course they can, but concentrate on your numbers. Anally, keeping an eye on your numbers is so hugely important. Sure, if you're not that academic with numbers, you rely on your accountant, but absolutely keep an eye on your spending. Listen, good people and good businesses have fell by the wayside through no fault of their own. But all I'm just saying is that service your debt, be aware what you're borrowing, make sure you can pay it back, and then the question of trading your way out of a financial difficulty is a whole new conversation. But all I can say is just don't get carried away with a good year. You're always going to have the bank money. You've got your own. Don't forget, when you're servicing the money you borrow from business, you've also got your personal mortgage to attend to as well. And keeping an eye on everything from wages to what you borrow. Do you really need it? Yeah. That's another thing I think you should ask yourself. I'd like that, but do I need it at this stage? That's something you can always ask yourself. Don't be frightened of questioning yourself sometimes.
Great advice, and I think it's a good place to end. But I'd love to come back in the future and talk about some more stuff like that. But when you were saying that, and you said don't get carried away with a good year, it reminded me. I can't remember who the actor was. It was one of the Rat Pack sort of era actors, and he was asked what is the one sort of saying or belief or piece of advice he was given that had the most impact on him. And he said, it works the same whether you're having a great year or a bad year, or whether you've got a problem or you cock of the block kind of thing. He said, this too shall pass. So, you can have a great year, but you're going to have a bad one in a couple of years because it just goes in a cycle. You could be in the middle of a really bad time, but it will pass. As long as you don't stay in that, and what the similar saying is, if you're going through hell, keep on bloody going. Why would you stay there, kind of thing? So the confidence that if you keep on doing the right things, even if it's a challenging market, it will pass, but not being too big for your boots when you're having a great year. Remember those around you and be conscious of keeping some for the fallow years.
That sums it up.
I really appreciate your time, mate. It's always good. Let's go and have some lunch. But thank you for joining us on Success as a System. Hope you've enjoyed today. Some great pieces of advice. Do always come back to us if you've got any thoughts, comments, questions. If you've enjoyed it, like, subscribe, tell other people about it, share it. Look forward to seeing you on another episode.